And I would also like to say I'm not a heritage professional, but I sort of play one at meetings like this. This is not the title of the presentation today, but I think it gives you a sense of the kinds of presentations I have been giving to a variety of audiences, including the hard scientists. So part of our audience out there is convincing people who are not heritage specialists, who don't really care much about heritage, about why what we have is really important stuff. So I'd like to go ahead and talk about endangered environmental archives for a moment, and then we'll go to Greenland. So, archaeological sites, not just for archaeologists anymore. So we have been selling them as a distributed observing network of the past. That's a rather strange way of talking about archaeological site, but it has resonance with the hard scientists who are used to the idea of distributed observing networks as having great value. So we coined this. We're having a meeting with the early phases of Future Earth in Paris, and we were assigned initially a 25-minute presentation for 5 of us, and after we hit them with this, they took us to lunch in Paris. So it's definitely worth thinking about. So DONOP as an org now is a bit. So here's some DONOP for you. This is not Greenland but Iceland, an eroding site full of fish bones. And from the fish bones, us zooarchaeologists can reconstruct age and size distribution of animals back long before there's any instrumental data whatsoever. And yes, we occasionally get cool little guys like this chessman who's made out of a haddock bone. Guess which part got published more fully than the other? Okay, so conventional zooarchaeology is a powerful tool for looking back into past oceans. If you layer in ancient DNA on codfish, as this study has been doing, you can do still more cool things. If you layer in stable isotopes on not just codfish, but also the seabirds who come from the same deposits, you again are beginning to open up this window into an ocean that doesn't exist anymore. If you work with ancient DNA from what are, from a zoological standpoint, extremely unpromising bits of whalebone you see here, you can now, thanks to our colleagues, get down to species level. So we have the potential for opening up another window on a North Atlantic that does not now exist. A North Atlantic before the Great Whale Massacre, where people from Holland and elsewhere went out and killed all these whales. So we have then as a way of looking at a past that no other source apart from a time machine can give you. So this is why we've been talking about our sites as a distributed observing network, but also as a library, like the Library of Alexandria. And this gets us to the point that they're endangered, these libraries. Our libraries are on fire now. So we have the Society of American Archaeology meetings. We had in Vancouver last spring, and we have again in Washington, a session called Burning Libraries. All come. You'll find tremendous welcome there. Okay, what about Greenland? Greenland has all the normal problems you anticipate with climate change, which say rising sea level, declining sea ice, but also has the problem, which we only recognized recently, of rising soil temperatures. Greenland is famous for incredible preservation of clothing bones. You'll probably all remember the pictures of the hooded folks from Pellier-Snace excavated in the 1920s. Wonderful bone preservation. I did my dissertation back in the Holocene, before the Anthropocene, working on wonderful bone collections, beautifully preserved, sitting in shelves in the Zoological Museum in Copenhagen. They've been excavated from Greenland from the 1920s onwards, and they're still there in beautiful condition. But now we're discovering that because of rising soil temperatures, conditions of preservation are just shot. So not only are we seeing no fabric, the bones themselves are going very rapidly. So you can't say to them all how to prioritize. Initially, we got together with our colleagues from Greenland and Denmark and the UK in the Nabo Collaborative, and focused on what site we knew as unique, the Bishop's Palace at Gardar Igaliko. So we went there and worked on that. And as you can see, that's standing water, which should be frozen. There is rapid loss of soil preservation. There are loss of soil moisture. There's the dauntless crew having lunch. And yes, there is still some preservation. Some areas, there's still waterlogging, and it's still possible to get some nice bits of wood out. As you can see there, some leather, runic inscriptions. We also got lots and lots of animal bones, whereas my heart lies, but I realize that many of you don't care that much about animal bones, so here's some of the other things that are preserved. Okay, so we also have then Since that project, there's been some remarkable work done by our Danish colleagues, led by Jørgen Hollesen, National Museum of Denmark, who have been instrumenting and better understanding the rate and reason for the loss of organic preservation going up the coast of Greenland. As you can see here, they have stations from the south, where the eastern settlement North Greenland is, up into the further north. And as you expect, they're seeing a decline. Bad news is the south. The really bad news is that there apparently is a threshold, which if you cross it, the degradation is very rapid. In layman's terms, the midden begins to cook. So you go from having a situation of very gradual decay to something within a few years, not decades, a few years, the organics are gone. So that's where we are in much of southwest Greenland today. So the group, your Hollison's group, has formed the Remains of Greenland. You can see I have a cool acronym here. And again, they have all sorts of neat stuff online. They have lots of visuals if you'd like to go see more of it. Okay. Archaeological teams last 2 seasons went out and spent the last of our money digging the largest holes we could in the remaining middens that were still there to try to recover as much as we could. Christian Madsen, Konrad Smirowski were leaders of this project. And as you can see, there's people digging big holes. As you can see, it's not always freezing cold in summertime in Greenland. There's people getting some sun. And this is, of course, a good thing, but it's also part of the problem. This is the summertime temperatures going up. This is the middens thawing completely. This is drainage going straight through. It turns out actually natural preservation in Greenland, southwest Greenland, actually sucks. What's kept it going for all this time is frozen soil. When the frozen soil goes, the middens go really, really quickly. So we're now putting together another group, Threatened Heritage, Science and Heritage in Greenland Response Project, which we hope we're going to get funded and go forward with. As you can see, it's a collaboration very widely: Greenland National Museum Archives, Danish National Museum, University of Aarhus, CUNY, my home institution, Sterling Edinburgh, the Bifrost Group, and the whole NAVO Cooperative. So we're going to try to do as many cool things as we can, and not just Norse. We recognize that in this area, every site is threatened. So we're going to be trying to find Paleo-Eskimo sites we can. They are present, and mostly they have no organic preservation left. But we're also going to be focusing on colonial period sites, 17th, 18th, 19th century, which do have organic preservation remaining. So very quickly, here's some of the elements you see here. There's a map showing you where we're working. Yes, we have human remains. We have skeletal populations coming out of multiple churchyards. They have been worked on for stable isotopes, for ancient DNA. We can now say who's related to. We can say who was born in Iceland and came to Greenland, but I don't have time to tell you about that. But the dead people are very informative, but their bones are going fast too. We have at Lichtenau Mission, which you can see the historic picture, again, bones peeping out there. They too are being eroded, so all time periods are threatened. We also have this rather cool micrograph here of a soil column site section taken by my colleague Ian Simpson, who has done wonderful work with soil science throughout southwest Greenland, reconstructing all kinds of cool things we never knew before about how the Norse managed their pastures, and they did. People think about the Norse in Greenland in Jared Diamond's terms as being the society that chose to fail. Far from it. They're highly adaptable, very resilient, very skilled farmers, and they went extinct anyway. The story is much scarier than you thought. The soil morphology is also breaking down too. So it isn't just the loss of the bone. It isn't just the loss of the big things you can see. It's also the soil micromorphology evidence is also going to pieces. So all kinds of bad things are happening at once in southern Greenland. And we need to get people interested and concerned. One way we're doing this is partnering with our friends in Sweden. I've launched something called the Bifrost Project, which is all about large-scale production. They do all kinds of cool outdoor events as well. And one of the things they do is to try to get down information from meetings like this by interviewing scientists, but also going to places where things are happening. And they're very good at producing public outreach material. Me, not so much. My home movies, not very effective. These folks are professionals. So if you want to have a major impact, as many of you all know, you need to partner with people who actually know what they're doing. And they do. So this is our plan, is to go ahead and try to get this to all go forward. And this I think I will save for the discussion afterwards. But it's a good news, bad news story. If we're successful, what's going to happen? We're going to make big piles, great big piles of things in bags. And then what? I'll stop there for now. We'll come back to this. Thank you.